You just mentioned something. It made me think about, this was something else that jumped out of the book to me. Henry's got brothers.
Yeah.
And while each of them have their own foibles, they're pretty much well suited for the times. They're competent in a lot of different ways. It's funny reading a book. I know that neither of them try and take the crown, but you're just so used to in British history that if there is other competent people, especially within the royal family, you just kind of assume sooner or later they're going to reach for the crown. But they actually had, with a couple of bumpy times here and there, a very good relationship between the brothers, right?
I mean, let's take the whole Plantagenet era and think of some comparable moments. Go right back to the start. Henry II, Eleanor of Aquitaine. You've got Henry the Young King, Richard, Geoffrey, John. Those guys are constantly at war with each other, with their own father. Constant rebellion. Even when there's two men left standing, Richard the Lionheart as king, and John. I mean, John is trying to depose his own brother. He's trying to have him kept in prison when he's arrested on his way back from the Third Crusade. It's a nightmare. Fast forward to the 15th century, the House of York. You've got Edward IV, George, Duke of Clarence, and Richard, Duke of Gloucester, the future Richard III. I mean, that psychodrama is exactly the same. During Edward IV's reign, George, Duke of Clarence rebelling and having to be drowned in a vat of Malmsey wine. As soon as Edward IV dies, Richard III ripping the throne away from Edward IV's kids. I mean, yes, so these are really interesting counterexamples. Even Edward III, who with his 5 sons had a pretty decent brood, they were still a mixed bag. But then when you come and look at Henry IV's kids, Henry V, Thomas, Duke of Clarence, John, Duke of Bedford, Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester. Clarence is probably the weak link in the sense that he's just all fight and he's kind of bullheaded and he's not possessed of enormously good judgment, but he's loyal by and large. John, Duke of Bedford is the equal of Henry V in almost every way. Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester is rather widely disliked during the when he's the only survivor from Henry V's times, but that's only because he gets this sort of dogged determination to protect and preserve his eldest brother's legacy at all costs, as he sees it, which runs him into political problems. But these are really, really competent, loyal siblings, and you can't really understand Henry V's reign without factoring in that there wasn't just one of him. There were 4 of them. They were like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they came as a package and they worked together incredibly effectively. I mean, Henry in France rotating Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester, John, Duke of Bedford out. So one's regent in England, one's in France with him. It's a real testament to their own characters and I think to the way that Henry IV had carefully succession planned with them.